Welcome to the Power Lunch Live podcast. Hope you enjoyed our awkward going live faces, which is one of the best parts of live. As you know, every live has to start with, wait, are we live yet? Can you hear us? Okay. Yeah, I think we're live. Okay, so welcome to the Power Lunch Live podcast. Do not adjust your set. Lisa Carmichael is back because Serendipity sent her to us last week and this week. As I always say, the producer of this show is Serendipity itself, the very force of nature, which gives us really great shows. So you may be watching this on Facebook, you may be watching this on YouTube, or you also may now be watching this on LinkedIn, because the cool kids get access to LinkedIn Live, and apparently I'm one of the cool kids. They approved me in like 3 seconds, so it was super cool. So the format of the show is I bring on a variety of interesting people, and we have a conversation about whatever comes up. So we're going to go around, do quick introductions about who these fine people are, and then each one has brought a topic. We may get to one topic, we may get to two topics, we may get to all three topics. We may riff off an introduction, never get to a single topic. Who knows what's going to happen? It's chaos. I mean, serendipity. So our first introduction is going to come from, first I need to promote something. Then our first introduction. So in a couple weeks, I have a summit. It is the Global Networking Summit, February 21st to 24th. We have 30 fantastic speakers. We have live networking on all 4 of those days, including on the 24th. We have a 24-hour global networking event. You don't have to be there for the whole 24 hours. I probably will be, but you don't have to be there for the whole 24 hours. And so you can go to globalnetworkingsummit.com to learn all the details, get access to the speakers, get access to networking and all that good stuff. And that's my shameless promotion. And now we'll go on to Lisa. Lisa, tell us about yourself and what makes you awesome.
Thanks, Michael. And yeah, I'm so grateful and honored to be here again. And last week was pretty intense. It was a really great, but it was the one word that I could use to describe it was intense. And that's important. I am a digital marketer. My marketing business has a focus on developing strong relationships. And my clients are entrepreneurs who want to stand out from their competitors and manage their reputations and legacies. So I'm all about building strong relationships. I feel in the way things have changed and evolved that we really need to build each other up instead of knocking each other down or feeling competitive with one another. So yeah, that's me. I'm a published author. I'm an entrepreneur. My website is hopefully popping up on my screen.
Right there, I see it.
Great. And I am in the tundra. I'm in Minnesota. It's 14 degrees, or yesterday was 14 degrees below zero. I did a polar plunge yesterday. Thought I froze my toes off, but they're fine. And today it's a balmy -1, so I'm good. So happy to be here. Thank you, Michael.
All right, welcome.
Thanks.
And next up is Tom.
Michael, so great to join you, man. I kind of wonder what happened last week. Now, intense. We gotta match
it's
that
recorded.
level.
You can go back and watch it.
All right, I'm going to now. That's what you call the teaser. We'll bring the intensity today as well. Michael, awesome to be joining you today. I represent Epigraph. I'm a brand-led CMO, which basically means I address brand positioning from a holistic approach. Your brand, yes, it's your logo type. Yes, it's the colors you choose to use. Yes, it's your font. It's also the way you speak about yourself and the way you sustainably put yourself out into the world. So we all know brand is just a consistent representation across every possible medium you could ever appear in of your persona, of your organization. So that's the approach I take. I am really stoked on values-led branding, which means your brand, if you're an organization or an individual, is a natural extension of who you are and what you believe in. It makes it easier to be consistent, to have integrity so that you're showing up the same way across every single instance. And everything and everyone, whether you approach it or not, is a brand, has a brand, whether you are intentional and curate it, or whether you just set it to its own. Fun thing, I'm in Portland, Oregon. It's a little bit gray right now. I'm 5 miles from Nike World headquarters, which is an exceptional brand. So we run a lot here in the winter and help fight the blahs, fight the gray, and just keep moving. I think it's not raining right now. I'm looking out the window. Might try and get one in later. So that's me, Michael. Pleased to be joining you, Lisa, and Hannah today.
Excited to have you here.
Thanks.
All right. And Hannah, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Hannah Chapman. I am the founder of X Squared Wealth Planning, and I'm a wealth advisor. And I really, really love working with entrepreneurs and helping people really understand how to build their business and their personal wealth at the same time, and how the two sides affect each other. So, I take a really comprehensive approach that goes beyond what you would normally hear. When you hear comprehensive financial planning, you're like, cool, you get all these statements, you look at all the different accounts and you smash them all together. But that approach really leaves out the actual feelings and emotions that are tied to what happens with our money. And what I've found with entrepreneurs especially is that they need to trust and honor the fears that they feel around their money and however they're coming up before they can even make clear decisions for how to, best use their funds, whether that's to grow their business, grow their personal wealth, whatever it is. So I really use, the approach of identifying what's important to you, what are your desires and what are your fears, and how do we work with those so that we can help you build a legacy that you really love in life. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, so I'm supposed to be really excited about the Bengals. And they're very cool. It's very exciting for them to be going to the Super Bowl. I have friends who are insanely excited. I am medium excited. But there we go.
That felt like I'm contractually obligated to be excited about the
living in Cincinnati, I'm supposed to care about this. But mostly I care about the snow day, and all of my kids are home. So I think we're all good. But they are very excited about the snow, and it's very beautiful.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. And I suppose I should introduce myself. Like the last couple of shows, I'm like, I should introduce everyone else, and probably some people don't know who I am. So I am Michael Whitehouse. I am the guy who knows a guy. I'm a networking concierge. If you've never heard of that, it's because I've never met anyone else with that title. People hire me to make introductions for them for their business. And mostly that's people with more established businesses. The kind of people from an introduction can be worth quite a lot, and their time is also worth quite a lot. So they hire me to save time and make those connections for them. I run summits. I wrote a book. I run other podcasts such as the Morning Motivation podcast, which is every day, morningmotivation.fun, 2 to 4 minutes to get you fired up and excited in the morning, which some of us have a little more trouble getting fired up and excited depending on the morning, especially when it's gray and cold and you can't go out running. My podcast can be a good substitute for that. And a quick testimonial for Hannah, because I connect a lot of people. I connected Hannah with someone who the feedback was, she's exactly who I want to meet. Find me 5 more just like her. So Hannah's really cool. If you haven't met her, you should.
Thanks.
So the first by the according to our producer, Serendipity itself, our first topic leader is going to be Tom. And Tom, the topic that he submitted was building sustainable and values-led brands. So give us about 2 or 3 minutes on that topic, and then we're going to open it up for conversation and all talk about it together.
Absolutely. Let's see. Where can we start? Michael, I'm going to pick on you to start with since it's fresh on my mind. You had your URL. You just put it out there. You had the .fun at the end. That's part of your brand. That's the representation. Clearly putting that on the end of your URL versus a .net or a .com, that puts something out there. It tells me before I even click into your morning show that it's going to be enjoyable. It's probably going to get me going. Brand is really just thinking about that. How do you curate consistently who you are across all your presences? So I'm in the presence of some very exceptional brand-led people here. Michael, I love your unique hook you've established for yourself. The guy who knows a guy, a networking concierge. I had never met a networking concierge before I'd heard you speak about a month ago. And I was like, that's a great idea. And when I heard about who you are and how you're wired and how you naturally built this space for yourself, I was like, that makes total sense. When I think of networking concierge, that is in line with your personality. Hannah, just hearing you talk earlier when we were in the green room about your passion for equipping female entrepreneurs. Clearly that's something that taps deep into your heart. You mentioned you're a mom. I don't know if you're a mom to boys or girls. Either way, I'm a dad to boys. I want them to grow up to be men who support strong women. My wife is a CPA. She leads the way, or we collaborate, egalitarian in our house. So once we look at these things that are values, these things that go deep to the heart of who we are, whether you're building a brand as a consultant, a coach, or whether you're a big organization looking to appear consistently in the world, if you're going to come across consistently, which is challenging in a day and age where there's so much communication flying around, so many messages, if you're going to get through to people, you're going to need to be saying the same thing every single time. And fundamentally, people are going to respect you if you're consistent. Michael, I don't have to tell you that relationships, are very fragile things. So coming and approaching a relationship with integrity is vital. And when you do that from a sense of your core values and understanding who you are and what you stand for and what you want to see more of in the world, that becomes a lot easier to maintain that integrity. So that's what I talk about when I talk about values-led branding. Sustainable just means you can do it for the long run. You're not putting on a face and saying, here's who I am out in the world. And then it takes a lot of energy to propagate that. If it's rooted in who you are and you really genuinely enjoy it, it's going to be so much easier. You're going to be a more integrated human who appreciates the complexity of the world, and you're going to be okay. You're going to draw people toward you who are values aligned, which fundamentally is a very refreshing thing. That's what I got. Thoughts?
Yeah, I love that. In terms of the alignment, it's so much easier. First off, I pretty much always tell the truth because lying is just so much work.
It's true.
I can't remember the truth half the time. So remembering what story I told people.
I think it's amazing, Tom, that you are pushing that, forward into the light so much, because it is so much easier to be in business and doing something that you actually are good at, right? Versus the way I see that happening a lot with entrepreneurs is you're trying to do everything. Like people who hate social media, posting on social media all the time, people who hate writing, trying to write blogs that aren't, hitting their audience, and trying to do all the things versus what do you actually like? What actually matters to you, and go do that thing. If it's talking one-on-one with people, how do you do more of that? If it is writing a blog, how do you, really get good at that? And a lot of that is the values, and it's not just the values of your business, but your personal values,
Yep.
right? And what you enjoy, because then, the more you can do things that align with what you love. I'll give you an example. I haven't started it yet because of COVID, but I'm super excited to, is to start having brunches for my clients and have everyone come to brunch and bring their other favorite person who loves brunch, because I love brunch. And that's super easy for me because I love to go to brunch and I love to talk to people over, a good meal. And then, leave and still have the rest of the day. But that pulls people towards me that enjoy something that I enjoy. And so automatically, I know they're more aligned than someone who's hates brunch.
So you're going to love the new networking group that I'm putting together called the Networking Brunch.
It's perfect.
We came up with it because it's noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. I'm like, well, we can't call it the networking lunch. You're in Los Angeles. You're like, I don't eat lunch at 9 a.m. What is this? Oh, what is called the brunch? It's at breakfast time in one place and lunchtime at the other place. So
perfect.
I love it. Tom, I have to agree with Hannah. It's like using our gifts and then digging deeper and deeper and becoming more and more vulnerable and sharing from within, because everything around us, there's just so much noise going on. For me, my personal brand, I've been trying to do that, to be consistent with the message that I share. And to be honest, this, for me, developing strong relationships, I didn't create that, but I've leaned into it and it's become part of me because of the repetition that I've been saying it over and over and over again, that I do create and develop strong relationships. And that, I feel, is really part of my brand. I like how you're nodding your head like she gets it.
I love it. No, it's so good. Yeah, no, I'm just, we're so much more now that we're 24, 18 months into this thing. There's so much, those sort of old walls that were up, like, have kind of been blown away. And like this right here is a big part of it. I mean, I can see into each of your living rooms. Well, not you, Michael. I'm sure there's like some awesome stuff happening behind you, but
there's a physical green wall behind
you're,
me.
You're being coy. Okay. Well, but yeah, it forces a new level of vulnerability, which can be terrifying. Yes. But it's also, oh man, there we go.
Beautiful.
You weren't kidding. It is a literal green wall. But it forces that new openness. And at first, I'm not a super open person who just like puts it all out there. But as I've gotten to as I've moved closer to that place and walk there with other people, it's like, oh, this is nice. This is comfortable. We can be humans, being human together. Like, yes, we're doing business. Yes, we're, managing, wealth and all that. But we're also we're people. We're just people being people.
Yeah. Well, and with my business, I found it was why I really leaned into the authenticity when I discovered my business. For the longest time, I mean, I knew I knew how to network. I knew how to connect people. I could make other people lots of money. Prior to the pandemic, I estimated the rough calculation was over the course of 2 years locally, without, now I'm at a much higher level. Locally here in Southeast Connecticut, I made other people about $500,000 over the course of 2 years through connecting them, getting them jobs, getting them clients, getting all kinds of things. And I, of course, got none of that because I was just helpfully connecting people. Yeah. And what I finally realized was that's what I do. I meet with people. I talk to people. I make introductions. That's my natural state of being. I would do that all the time if I could. And so when I tried to be like, well, maybe I'll teach something or I'll coach or I'll build a course or I'll do this, none of that got any traction. And finally I said, well, is there any way I could just make my business talking to people and making introductions? And once I did that, boom, it was really January 2022 is when I started that. Signed up 4 clients the first month because I talked to people like, I get what you do. It's totally in alignment. I totally understand it. I see the value. I can afford it. Let's do this. Boom. And it wasn't there was no sales process. There's no closing process. I don't have people like, how do you find your clients? Like, I don't find my clients. I find them on a call with someone. They're interested in what I do, and then I decide if I want to work with them or not. Yeah. I choose to accept my clients. If you really get into that alignment, and Tom, I imagine this is kind of where you bring your clients to, the point where your clients, your prospects are drawn to you because they know what you do. And then it's just a matter of, do you want to work with them or not? And if you let them in, you're not going out there with a net trying to like, come on.
That's the nice thing where if you lead with values, they come through on your LinkedIn profile, they come out through your website, it's a little bit of a filter, where there may be that person where 6 months down the road, you realize this isn't a great relationship. This isn't working. We're not made for each other. The sooner you lead with that and put it out there, it can be really, saves you time, saves you energy.
I love it.
Yeah,
for sure. Michael, it's like you're an anchor instead of the net, that you're so centered that you're like this tree that doesn't get blown over by the wind, that you are so centered that you know what you're good at, you know what your values are, and that's what attracts people like us to you.
Yeah.
I've heard it. Another good metaphor is the lighthouse. Like to be the lighthouse doesn't move, right? The lighthouse draws the ships to it, and you have to stay in your place and be in your value and in your power so that people can come to you. And you're that beacon, right? So like, hey, come here. I know how to connect you to the other ships. But yeah, I've found the exact same thing, Michael, that that you were just talking about, that the more I was able to lean into, like, really identify my values and the values of my target market, and just like write about that and write every single day, just speak to that all the time, that started bringing those, female entrepreneurs with multiple income streams and kids and partners and, like all the things that I was wanting to work with people on, they started coming to me because I was talking about that all the time. And it wasn't, when people would start coming onto sales calls, I'd get to the end and they'd be like, well, okay, so what's next? I'm like, well, do you want to know how much it costs? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess so. Okay, yeah, that's fine. What do we do next? Like, oh, that wasn't really a sale. That was really easy. And when you're that aligned with someone that they're like, well, I can't go to anyone else because no one else is you. That's where, you're like being super aligned, really just in your power as a business owner, doing the right thing.
And so I think this actually segues into the next topic, which, Hannah, is your topic, which is defining your desires, a way to create a financial plan.
Yes.
So I feel like these topics dovetail one into the next. So Hannah, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So kind of like I said in my introduction a little bit, there's not a good way to actually create a financial plan if you're not understanding where you want to go. Right. And when I'm working with business owners, it's even more pronounced because usually all of their efforts are in building that business. Right. So, they'll have used all of their retirement money from another job and dumped it into this business. So there's nothing there. Or they will, all of their time, all of their effort, everything is going towards building this business. And they have all these other desires and all these other, their why is strong, but it's not big enough, or they're not able to, kind of lift up out of it to see where they actually want to go. So what I see my true job as being a guide, as being the lighthouse, as, shining the light, is that we want to shine the light on that person's desires. So where they want their business to go, are they, at 500,000 in revenue and they want to have $1 million business? Are they, having a virtual assistant right now and they really want to actually hire and expand their team so they can scale? Do they have, goals to take their family to Disney World or buy a lake house? What are the desires? We can put everything. I like to use a puzzle analogy. So, dump out the puzzle box. First, we got to flip all the pieces over so we can see, where everything is. And even when we build the puzzle of where everything's at, we still need to, put the desires on the outside so that we can then create the roadmap that actually takes you there versus just, building wealth for the sake of, sitting on a hoard like a dragon or diving through money like Scrooge McDuck. That's not really what our generation wants, I don't think. Yeah, the people that I've talked to, like, we want to actually make the world a better place. And so when we can talk more about those desires and really, flesh them out, we can literally create a roadmap to get there. So once I know where you want to go and I can see where you are now, that's my specialty, is saying, all right, here are the tools that get us, through all the points to get you where you want to go. So that's the process that I like to take my clients through.
I love it, and I love the point you had about the purpose. I saw a Facebook post recently where someone said that this generation, instead of people sitting around fantasizing what kind of boat they'd get or where they go on vacation, a lot of I think millennials is probably the right description of that group. A lot of millennials sit around and be like, if I had $1 million, well, I'd pay off John's mortgage, and I'd pay off Susie's student loans because those really been on her, and my cousin, I would take care of take care of her car so she wouldn't have that anymore. And like people fantasize about all the ways they give money to their friends and solve their problems. And it's not about themselves, it's about how they, there's that real strong undercurrent of want to do, which for me, I'm not really a coach anymore, but I find I can't stop being one. So in my coaching, it's that like I want to help people. The more connections and resources I find, the more I'm like, how can I leverage this? I actually found this. A friend of mine got a job working for Disney World, and so she has to move to Florida, and of course there's moving costs, and if you break a lease, there's costs of breaking a lease, then you got to get the new apartment, and so she's following her dream job, and she's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and a bunch of people commented, they're like, put up a GoFundMe. I'll put it like, how do I? People are like, what's your PayPal address? What's your Venmo? Let me help you, because people see that and they're like, I want you to succeed. I shared it. And I actually, to kind of goose along, I said, if anyone donates $100 or more, I'll give you a free hour of coaching, which is normally $250. And like 20 minutes later, someone messaged me and said, here, I don't even need the hour of coaching. Give it to someone who needs it. But, I want to do this because people want to help. And the fact that I was able to share it to my audience and actually make a difference meant a lot to me too. Finding those ways that we can help each other is really kind of that highest calling.
That's such an interesting contrast, Michael, where you're looking at, it's very generational, right? The way we look at and think about money. I'm right between like Gen X and millennial, so I can sort of look both directions.
Yep, me too. Yep.
Yeah, there's very different conceptions and perceptions. And Hannah, I really liked your point about, and this clicked for me a few years ago. A big part of personal finance and business finance is the psychology of it. I mean, yes, there's the percentage and interest rates and what you can make. But, when we were looking at like our home mortgage and like thinking about, yes, it doesn't make sense to pay it off. Like our APR is like ridiculously low as most people's are. But like, what is the psychology of if we take care of that, not having that hanging over our head, like never having the bank, like just cutting the bank out. Like what does that enable in terms of freedom? And there's like that, what's that book? Vicki Robbins' book, Your Money or Your Life, where you're looking at like money as life energy. Like you gave away life energy for this stack of money. What's worth it? Is a Netflix subscription worth it? Maybe, if it genuinely feeds you and gives you back happiness. So yeah, the psychology of wealth is like so fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, Tom, because it's like, I mean, I say that I don't tell people what to do. Like, yes, I'm the expert in the room, but I'm not the one that has to own the decision of it. So yeah, if someone comes to me with, wanting to pay off a mortgage, we'll do the math and I'll show you like, okay, so here's my opinion based on where you're at. And here's what the numbers look like either way. Which one is the right way for you? Here's how you can look at that data and actually make an informed decision. Because if there's anything, especially with entrepreneurs, like we start businesses because we're sick of being told how to do what we want to do. Right. So honoring that and honoring the fact that I'm like talking to other, driven individuals while also saying, here, I curated these options. Here's what they look like. So you can go through that decision-making process and see how it feels. Because then there's usually a two spouses, a lot of my clients anyway, they're partnered. And so it's not a one person decision-making process. It's like, we got to like talk through how everyone feels about stuff. That's really important.
Yeah. Power of going against the grain and, giving what's the saying? If you do what everyone else does, you'll get what everyone else gets. So sometimes, going the path less traveled can be really productive.
Interesting. Yeah, for sure. I love your sincerity and passion, Hannah, because it just stands out with how you speak and how you carry yourself. And I think that's why people trust you. And, the financial world it's such an important piece because you're dealing with people's retirement money. And that can be really scary. So good for you. I couldn't do it.
It is. That's a really good point too, Lisa, is that money is so tender. There's so much fear around money, whether you are accumulating it, with a millennial in the 30s, 30 to 45 range, especially, or, people who are closer to retirement. I have clients who are closer to retirement. I have clients who are widows, and that they're like, Hannah, I trust you with everything that I have. And that's a humongous responsibility, and one that, like you have to trust the person that is doing everything for you, for your finances. And that's, I don't know. I love it. I've always loved money, and counting money and saving money, and all of that. But more than that, I love my clients, and I love being able to, provide them that sense of peace that, like I am always going to do what's in your best interest and help you in any way that I can. Because that's, we've all met the opposite, right? So like, it's important.
Makes sense.
It's something I found very gratifying as I've moved into different strata of business, is finding people who are quite successful, quite wealthy, and they still have the commitment to doing good, and they want to work with people who have the commitment to doing good. And you can tell because of how they talk about people who don't. So a lot about win-win, and like the whole joint venture world, which I'm very heavily involved in, since a lot of Network Concierge is introducing people to people for joint ventures, where 1 + 1 can equal 11, and they can share audiences and all that kind of thing. It's the abundance mindset at scale. The abundance mindset's fine when you're like, I feel like there's enough out there for anyone. But when you actually then take it to, so now we're going to team up and show you that we can grow the pie week after week after week, relationship after relationship after relationship. It's this very powerful example of it. And so when you see people who are still like, I'm going to get mine, they almost, they look like dinosaurs. It's like, well, did you not get the memo that we don't, like, that's not even the best way to make money, let alone the best way to live your life. But I feel like that is the momentum. Now, on the flip side, you still have the dehumanizing corporate structures where when it gets split apart so much that, like, the shareholders want their profits, and they don't want to do anything bad. They just want to make more money. And then the executives don't want to get fired by the shareholders, so they do the right things. They put pressure on their team, and their team's like, well, I don't think it should cause too many problems if we put in this additive instead of that additive. I know we've seen the study, but it's probably not valid. So they're not trying to do anything wrong. And you get such a diffusion of responsibility. That's where you get kind of those structural challenges. But I think every individual, you're certainly getting away from this, shark eat shark world style. Even, Harvard Business School is teaching people to work together. And once they're doing it, that's when you know something's happening.
For sure, Michael, we're the leaders in this whole change of mindset. That partnerships and collaborations is really the way everything is moving. So once we realize that we're the leaders of it, then it's like, oh, now I understand why I need to have compassion for the dinosaurs.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, compassion even for the dinosaurs. Because if we continually show and prove again and again and again that we can collaborate instead of compete, that's, what I have found in my space. We talked a little bit about this in the green room too, that I get connected to other female financial advisors constantly. And honestly, I love it. And I only want to lift up, my profession in that way, because I love working with entrepreneurs. Other people love working with widows. Other people love working with, divorcees. Other people love working with young professional families. There is space for every single one of us, and any other, even if I met another advisor who works with business owners, guess what? We're probably not attracting the same business owners. And Tom, you can probably speak to this too. Like the more you hone in on your values and the more you speak to that, like it starts to be so obvious who's for you and who's for someone else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we can have that abundance mindset.
Totally. There's that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a friend. Life is long, it's a marathon, and it's going to demand a lot of us. So why not look for those fellow travelers? Michael, like you were saying, I love the concept of collaboration, especially in the nonprofit charity space, where, how many efficiencies can be gained when values are aligned, whether that's around a specific initiative, a region, a geography. I really do believe we're seeing a rise of a new collective collaboration around the world, just because it's so easy to sit down and see people, who are thousands of miles away. You don't even have to get on a plane anymore. And you just realize, I don't know, I'm really stoked on the rise of just a new humanity, new collective, recognizing that, we're in this together. We're facing some pretty, gnarly challenges as humanity, and they're not discerning as to whether, you live in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. There are regions of the world that will be affected sooner, but it's really, I don't know. I think there's just so much to be gained from us collaborating around shared vision, shared interest, and it's a really interesting space for sure.
So Lisa, you mentioned leadership, which I'm going to use as a segue. I was going to use something from 3 minutes ago as a segue. As a segue into your topic. Like I did that. There is no segue I cannot shoehorn in. Anyway, Lisa, talk to us about how to build your authority.
Well, I think it's a great segue because I hear the authority from all of us coming out. And being the authority starts with your belief. And so belief comes from knowing without a doubt, for instance, that success is yours. Belief is without a doubt that you can give value to other people. And with belief, there's no room for hesitation because it's an internal game, which is a subconscious decision. So belief is the acceptance of what you know to be true. You've made the decision and you're ready to take action. So, the strategies are ideas and suggestions that people will give you and that you'll get, and they'll come and go. However, your belief in your product or your service is knowing your truth. That's how you become the authority. But not only belief, after that, I feel like I'm teaching a lesson. After that comes trust. And trust, it comes after you've made the decision of belief in your product or mindset. Trust is knowing that you're certain without a doubt that what your belief will come true. So trust means to have confidence that your belief is real. Trust is not attached to the final outcome, but expects something positive, like your collaborative relationships. You expect a positive outcome since there's the attachment to the belief. So the two really work well together, and it's the confidence that what you believe is true. So trust is knowing that your belief is possible. It's your connection when it doesn't feel possible. When we lose our belief in our why, that's when we fall apart. So everything will work out when we know that we can let go of the details and just honor and trust what we believe in. And after that, when you've got the belief and the trust figured out, then you just have to lean back and allow, using that word lean today. With trust in your beliefs, you have to be open to receiving. So it's an openness to receiving all the goodness that's out there. That life is always going to offer us opportunities to receive what we desire. So the ability to receive is powerful. I never understood that. I was always trying to latch on to whatever I could. And I never understood that my confidence wasn't coming from the external world, that my confidence had to come from me and from inside of me. And so allowing and accepting is when everything we believe in and trust in will make its way to us because we're leaning back, we're trusting, we're allowing. But don't stop there. Always take action. Don't wait for perfect action. Imperfect action is better than no action. You just have to take the step. Action is not about getting it perfect. Embrace the imperfection and forget the perfection. And that's what really brings you to be that authority. And it just happens automatically. Perfection is the enemy of done. So you're the authority because you believe and you trust in yourself. So that's my lesson for today, people.
The theme I'm hearing today is definitely a lot of, have clarity on your purpose, clarity on your mission, and then faith in that mission and clarity. And once you have that, you'll attract the right people, you'll attract the right circumstances, you'll be comfortable in your messaging. And I love the overlap of mindset and marketing, which is a fascinating intersection.
Yeah, belief, I mean, it goes with everything. It can be your religion, it can be your business, it can be your spouse. You just have to trust that what you believe in will actually come to be, and then being open to receiving what it is that you desire. That manifesting, Hannah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because it's being open to receive, I think, is one of the even when people are doing a good job of focusing on, doing the actions and, putting good energy out into the world, we can shut that all off if we're not open to actually receiving what is coming towards us. And one of the best ways that I've had this described or drawn out to me is that it truly is a circle of giving and receiving. And if you're not receiving, you're stopping the flow of it completely. That if you're only going to give and someone can't give back to you, then it's going to stop. If I am trying to give something great to someone and they keep refusing it, I'm going to stop trying to give to that person. So I love to think about anything mindset related. I definitely, have my own personal spiritual beliefs and how we create things in the world, but on a very practical level, on a business, implementation level, what we focus on expands. And if you're focusing on everything that's going wrong, everything's going to get worse, right? And so we can use this very practically. And that other example of, if you keep refusing people's help, they're going to stop trying to help you, right? So being open to receiving, all the things that you're asking for, all the things that you're putting out, that helps keep the loop going.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to double click on authority real quick. When I think of authority, I love tapping into what's come before, sort of best practices. I mean, when you go back to school to get your MBA, what do? You look at a lot of case studies. What examples, from history can we look at? I mean, in this day and age, we have so much access to information from business, from psychology, from philosophy. There's just so much. There's this deep well of human history that what we're facing now, has been faced by people before. Maybe the situation was slightly different, but I take solace, in thinking, there's nothing new under the sun. We can always, other people have been through this, maybe in a slightly different lens. And I think that can be a really key source of tapping authority, especially when things can be a little bit of the moment and a little bit flaky. I know for me, and that's sort of the philosophy I love with epigraph. An epigraph is an idea that taps into something that's come before. When you're reading a book, it's that quote at the beginning that sort of sets the stage and says, okay, this is part of a deeper lineage. Tapping into lineage, I think, is a really awesome way to establish authority that's stronger than your own just, hey, this is my opinion of the moment. It's like, no, sorry, there's deep roots in what we're presenting here.
Yeah, a quote that came to mind is Chris Salem, who's a coach that I know, and I'm pretty sure I'm quoting correctly, is give without expectation, receive without resistance. I'm trying to remember the exact wording of this for like 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure I got it, but it's
Sounds
exactly
good.
what Hannah was saying. It's yeah, when you like when I make introductions to people, I'm not necessarily expecting something. I mean, obviously I now have clients, so I do it professionally, but I'll make introductions to between two people. I'm quite confident neither can do anything for me because it's a good introduction to make, and that's good. I've had times where I'll get an email from someone being like, "Thanks so much for introducing me to so and so. I got the job, and now it's going great." And I'm like, "That's good." Because I don't remember you or the person I introduced you to, but I'm so glad it went well, whoever that was. But then, Hannah, what you said is exactly right. That receiving without resistance. If you don't allow that to come on the spiritual level, if the universe is sending you money and opportunities, and you say, "Nah, I'm good," then you won't get any more. And even if you don't subscribe to any of the spiritual stuff, if people keep trying to help you and you keep telling them to take a hike, they're going to stop trying to help you. They'll go help someone else who'll actually accept the help. Like, why am I going to bang my head against the wall to help someone else? So you need to be willing to accept that. I think a lot of people, it's the imposter syndrome. It's I don't deserve it. It's, sometimes when I'm coaching new business owners, like, no, really, when someone tries to pay you, take the money.
Michael, I'm going to have to maybe listen to the recording of this because that GoFundMe idea is just like sticking in my mind to help other people. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you frame it up, it's like it's sort of a dichotomy there, right, Michael? You can view the world as full of opportunity and just riches or scarcity. I mean, which of those mindsets are you going to pursue? Because it's a bit of a split road. You're going to go down one of those and they will give you a different mindset, a different psychology, a different approach, and a very fundamentally different life, I think, based upon which of those you go after.
Well,
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I see that constantly, right? And that if you think that everyone is competition, if you think everything is scarce, then it's not just those pieces, right? That I have to get mine. It does bleed into every other part of your life and your personality. And that's the person that's yelling at the waitress and the person, I had this happen to me when I was a teenager, making someone a sandwich because I worked at a sub shop and he yelled at me about putting the olives in the wrong spot. Then the woman after him was like, "You didn't deserve that. He shouldn't have said that." I was like, "Thank you," because I was 17. It bleeds into your whole life if you take that approach that everyone is out to get you, rather than who can I help, right? And the more we're putting ourselves out there in that capacity, who can I connect? I do it all the time too. Like, I don't think you're going to be this connection isn't going to be a client for me, but I know all of these other people who are going to, benefit from knowing this person. And how do we give first? How do we give freely? And how do we, as a Brene Brown quote, well, I heard it from her first. I'm sure she wasn't the first one to say it, but you either believe there are two camps. You either believe everyone is doing the best that they can, or you don't. And the people who believe that everyone is just doing the best that they can are happier and more successful in their whole lives. Because it doesn't, even if someone did something really crappy, they were doing the best they could at that time and it wasn't good for you. So you can choose to leave.
Yeah.
And so that was a big epiphany for me when I listened to it like 5 times. I'm like, that can't be true. That can't be true. Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Everyone's doing the best they can with what they have in the moment. And that's what one of my coaches, it's interesting. So one of the important things too is who you surround yourself with. And as I've managed to move into kind of higher and higher levels of financial success with people I'm hanging out with, and the idea of like what is a lot of money. And I used to think $10,000 is a lot of money. And if I lost $10,000, I would still be pretty upset about it. But I always think like, wow, that's a lot of money. Like if you need $10,000 to start your business, I don't know how that's going to happen. And And recently I was talking to someone who says, yeah, so we're looking for an investor who will put $1 million into our company. And my response was, all right, I'll keep an ear out.
Yeah.
I don't know who that person is. Like, let me go find them. But it's like, yeah, I probably know someone. I'll probably find them at some point soon.
Michael, do you see commonalities? You've crossed paths with a lot of different people. Those who sort of, gain access to bigger pools of money, resources, but still maintain and stay grounded. Do you see any similarities or any thoughts on what keeps people down to earth when the sums of money and stuff gets crazy big?
I think it's the money doesn't change them. They're not, hanging out at Davos and, well, actually, I'm thinking one of them does hang out at Necker Island, but they're not buying Lamborghinis. They're not buying, and I think it's because of what they got into it for. Money makes you more of what you are. So if you were a status seeking, I would need to be better than everyone kind of person, and you get money, well, now you can use that money to seek status and be better than everyone. If you were the kind of person who said, I want to help all my friends, I see something on the news and upsets me and I want to fix it. And, and these kinds of things. And then you get money. Well, now instead of seeing it on the news and being sad, you call up your assistant and say, set up a nonprofit. I want to deal with that problem. I remember the first time I can't remember what the issue was. There was school lunch debt. I read about that. They were talking about school lunch debt and other kids who were being embarrassed and all this. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible. I wonder what my town does. So I emailed someone and found out what the town did, got an introduction to the guy in charge of the lunch program, and found out, fortunately, our town handles it really well. They're very, they're very good about making sure that that nobody's embarrassed for not having money. So it's not a problem here, thank God. But I realized, like, oh, I don't have to just sit here and wonder, like, I now have the power to have influence over this. And so maybe I'm self-selecting. It may be that I want to meet with those kinds of people, so I'm not meeting the money grubbing people and the ones who will, step on a baby to get $5. But I think really it's money makes you more of whatever you were to begin with. So, money does not turn generous people selfish. Yeah. Money makes selfish people much more effective at it. So
I would say that's super true. And when you meet people who are at the higher end of CEOs and business owners, most of the time when their companies are really successful, it's not because they were assholes, because they will tear themselves down because the leadership is hurting everyone. When the crap rolls downhill, it starts from the top, right? So when you have people who are truly successful and their brands are, growing and people like to work for them, they are almost always going to be heart-centered. They're going to have values that matter to them more than money. The money is nice. It can give you the lifestyle that you want. And yes, they might have some nice things and go on nice vacations, but most of the time they are funneling as much as they can. Michael, like you said, to other causes that actually matter to them. They're starting foundations, they're starting nonprofits, they have so many things going on because they have money to do it with.
Yeah. I mentor a lot of startup founders who are very, very early stage. And I always tell them, nobody cares if you make a giant exit and go sail around the Mediterranean in your super yacht. But if you genuinely want to leave the world a better place, and whatever you're making, your startup, your idea does that, people are going to root for you. They'll be like, oh man, I want that person to succeed because they're putting their positive dent in the universe. And I want that. Right. And that pulls for so much. That makes you remarkable on the publicity side, like literally worthy of being remarked about. Like people start talking about that because they're like, oh man, I want that to happen in the world. It becomes a nice virtuous cycle, and money becomes the ancillary, follow on to that.
I think sometimes there is a place for the asshole leader. That's a technical term. Like I can't remember what his name is. The founder of Uber. I feel like a nicer, more mission-driven person would not have been able to do what Uber did, because Uber had to basically go city by city, breaking their laws, changing their culture, and being like, I don't care, we're coming in here, get out of my way. Now, he then had to leave because you can't run a company that way once you're running. But I think there's some of those people who really just smash through a lot of walls that it's really hard to be like, I care about people and I love, and I am going to destroy this.
Yeah.
You need a certain amount of, I just don't care. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah, the level, there's something that's disruptive like that, like Elon Musk. I mean, what he's done with SpaceX, he's disrupted a lot of the traditional, the Boeings, the Lockheeds. Like he has undercut their price, so that's brutally disruptive. I mean, if you're in those regions where those were traditionally manufactured, that's gnarly. Yeah, but does it get us to? Is there an end in mind? Making us multi-planetary species, reducing the cost of different things in the orbit, making a better holistic life in the end. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, so I'm never surprised when I hear like someone who broke all these barriers actually a jerk to be around. Like, of course they are. Like they disregarded everyone else's opinion. Why would they be nice to the people next to them? Like.
Founders are weird. I mean, they're these crazy visionaries who they have a picture of a world that doesn't exist and may not exist for 5 or 10 years. And they're sometimes the lone, insane voice crying in the wilderness. And then 5-10 years later, they're proven right. And yeah, it can be intense.
It can be. I don't want to keep too long here, Michael, but I would also say that we can't really judge because those people had that strong belief in what they were moving forward. And we don't know what their belief really was. Like the Uber owner, he probably thought he was doing good. He made decisions based on his belief. And I feel a lot of times we get caught judging others.
Well, he was doing good because his company did good.
Yeah, but we don't understand until we walk a mile in their shoes.
Yeah. But I think it's more like his company was doing. I mean, I was new. My lifestyle is possible because of Uber. I was an Uber driver last year. Uber has basically cut Uber and Lyft together, have cut drunk driving deaths in half. Like it's been a huge benefit to the world. But I think it was only able to do that good because he was able to be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
but it's really hard to be like, I don't care about your rules and laws, but I care about your feelings. It's hard to find that in the same person.
And it's complicated. I mean, if you're a New York taxi cab driver who paid, $1 million for a medallion and then Uber rolls in and you're effectively mortgaged everything. I mean, yeah, it's not black or white. It's like you're weighing, you're putting it on the scale and it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Everything's nuanced. Absolutely.
Yes. Everything is complicated. And, it's after 3:00 where I am. It's not after 3:00 where any of you are, I don't think. But it's after 3:00 where I am, and it's a 2 to 3 hour. It's a 1 hour show. So it's been awesome to have you all on here. I'm going to go around quickly for final thoughts from everyone. And if your final thought is a way that someone can help you, contact you, or get your free download, feel free to make that your final thought. So we're going to start with Hannah because she is in the upper right of my screen.
Yeah, again, I'm Hannah Chapman. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's me, Hannah Chapman. And I love connecting with people. And you can also go to my website, which is right there, x2wealthplanning.com.
Very good. Lisa Carmichael.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for having me again. And I'm honored to be here. You can find me at my website, lisarcarmichael.com. I am offering a mastermind that I'm enrolling people in right now. There's a free download on my website that you can grab to learn more about it. But this is my third mastermind that I'm running, and it's been truly amazing for both them and for me to watch their businesses change. So thanks for having me. I'm so grateful.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
And Tom.
Thanks, Michael. So good to join you today. Helloepigraph.com is our website. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Love connecting with people who are more interested in building human brands, who have a big vision for humanity and want to make this world a better place. So reach out to me. Would love to connect. Thanks.
Fantastic. And of course, I am Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy. If you would like to get a copy of my book, because I've got a free download as well, you can go to my website, which is guywhoknowsaguy.com. And I don't have a banner ready for that. Oh, wait, there it is. Guywhoknowsaguy.com. You will not only get the PDF of my book, But because I know I myself have never read an entire PDF book, I have recorded it on MP3. So I've listened to many audiobooks. So you can get the MP3 of my book just for going to my site, putting your information in there at guywhoknowsaguy.com. So you can find us here every single week at 2 o'clock Eastern. I guess that's 11 Pacific, and whatever time it is anywhere else. You can do your own math if you're not in Pacific or Eastern. Sorry. Here in the Morning Motivation podcast group, and the Guy Who Knows a Guy YouTube channel, and now on LinkedIn, which I think is where Erin Lubian, my friend from Success Champions, of course, how I know Hannah. Hello, Erin, if you're still watching. So she logged in from LinkedIn. So glad to see that is working. Thank you all for coming. This has been awesome. And actually, yeah, everyone give me a big smile because I'm going to take a screenshot. Okay, good. Now I'm going to put that in the publicity for this. So thank you all for being on the show, and thank you all for watching at home.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Take care.